We're talking about quarterbacks and having new homes. Let's go to Hammer Don. Tone has a question for you, Lombo.
Yeah, Lombo, obviously Russ missed the first few days because of the calf injury, and Justin Fields got all the reps. Russ has been back for 2 days with pads on, and Justin is still getting the 11-on-11 first-team reps, majority of them. Russ has only got 2 so far. You think there's anything to read into there? You think there's a chance that Justin Fields takes the pole position because of this injury, or what are your thoughts on the situation there?
On my show yesterday, we had a Jerry Dulac on from Pittsburgh, and he was talking about that. And he obviously goes to practice every day. He's in Latrobe, and he mentioned that he didn't think it was going to be it was very close, the competition, that when Justin was able to throw the ball in man coverage outside, it was good. But then when it became a little bit difficult and cloudy inside, it wasn't as good. I think it really behooves the Falcons to give him as many reps as they can to see. I'm sure the first completed pass in the preseason, people will start betting for him for MVP. I won't mention whose name that would be, but they certainly will bet for him for MVP.
Jeez.
And now you know who I mean. They run that campaign. So I think, to me, look, they're in a good situation. I think they got to sort through this offensive line. The Roman Wilson injury affects them because I heard he was doing really well. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to get another receiver. Van Jefferson, is the number 2 guy to go along with Pickens. But I think this is going to be a team a little bit better than most people think because, they've never played from in front with their defense. They've always been, and they've won 10 games last year. And for all the complaining, they won 10 games and lost to the Cardinals and the Patriots.
Yeah, Justin Fields highlights, though. I mean, there's some real highlights out here coming from Justin Fields at training camp, and I appreciate you breaking down. Whenever it's man coverage on the outside, he's been hitting some people, but whenever they start doing some shit in the middle, it gets a little cloudy, which has always been seemingly the development of Justin Fields. Can he continue to go? They're not easy to figure out and decipher what the hell's going on, where you need to put the ball. The defense has paid millions and millions of dollars to try to fool you. That is kind of how it goes. And Justin Fields, obviously, in Chicago, there's been a couple situations, a turnover. We get a new era, different era. This one, we're out the door. Russell Wilson facing the same type of issues, but at least he's seen for a decade now. Plus, he's seen every single defense. Could you imagine if the Steelers team does well? These Yinzers are going to get loud.
Here's what I think, though. I think there's a thing that's trending in the league that we have to talk about is this RPO game. And when you look at Russell's RPO game, it's been steadily declining. Last year, Jalen Hurts, 2 years ago, he threw for over 1,000 yards in the RPO game. Last year, that number went down to 600. People are starting to get a handle on how to defend the RPO game in the National Football League. And if that becomes more of the trend and we're seeing the decline in those numbers, the only one who didn't see a decline in those numbers were Tua in the RPO game. And Russell has really seen a decline in RPO and in play-action pass game. His eye level hasn't gone back to the level it needs to be looking down the field. That's why his numbers in yards per attempt are trending such downward. And I think Fields is going to be able to do that. The question for Fields is going to be if people take away the RPO game, what does he have left in his arsenal? That's going to be the question.
We knew this day was coming, though, right? When the defense coordinators are going to figure it out. And also guys playing high school ball. Mm-hmm. Against it at D-line, college ball against it at D-line.
Used to it.
So then you at least, because I think whenever, it was like the tackling rules, whenever Debo was just getting fined every single week where they're like, hey, you got to now hit like this, you got to take your head out of it, as opposed to torpedoing, which we know we've been highlighting, paying people for, and promoting for the beginning of football, pretty much. Now we need you to lift your head up, move it to the side, need to hit the shoulder. It was hard for people to transition into that. The old school guys were having a much more difficult time than the guys that kind of grew up with it. High school guys, college guys, then it just became like the norm throughout a generational turn. The RPO thing, I think we potentially saw happening as well.
It's going to be the referees, too. How strict are they with the linemen? If they let the linemen go 3 yards down the field, you still throw the ball. A lot tougher on the defense to be true to their rules and be disciplined. But if they're strict, and I felt like they got a little more strict the last couple years with the linemen calling some offensive linemen downfield. That'll help the defense defend it. And I think a Hurts situation, losing Shane Steichen was a big part of it. I don't think they called it enough because he was great. And being able to run the ball, obviously that's going to be a weapon. Lombo talks about it all the time, that 6-man box. Having Goddard hitting him in the flat, hitting those receivers, getting one-on-ones outside. So it's a lot of different elements to it, but it's still a tough play to defend because the quarterback, the trigger man, he can always be right.
Well, anytime you got a no in there, you can't prepare for it because there's an option for somebody.
Boom.
Exactly.
Look out.
But I think also the point person that is being read,
Yep.
I think like their gamesmanship too on like knowing that they're being read
Instincts, yeah.
is a different game. It's football's getting to a great spot, but everything